Bonjour, comment allez-vous? All Blacks vs France, test 1. Ooh, hell of a test, wasn't it, guys? Let me get into it anyway. So in this video, guys, I'm going to be covering 4 main areas. So I'll give you an overview of the test, analysis of both sides of what I thought, key players from the game, and then finally I'll give you a summary of sort of my thoughts at the end. Just heads up, guys, as per usual, these review videos, that they are pretty honest. At times they are going to be brutal. This is international sport at its best, but you know, brutality brings excitement and like, how good was the game, guys? So heads up on that. Brief overview of the test. I think firstly that first 10 minutes, jeepers, there was a lot of talk in the media around, 40, 50 points as a win to the All Blacks, but certainly you saw that first 10 minutes. And I think you often forget the difference in the raw intensity between Super Rugby and Test match level. Like that first 10 minutes, the physicality and speed that France brought was pretty exceptional, wasn't it, guys? Look, in summary of the match, half-time, 21-13 to the All Blacks. At that point, I thought the All Blacks would have it in the bag and have a comfortable win in the second half. Obviously, it wasn't to be. A tough, I use the phrase, bittersweet victory to the All Blacks in the end. 31-27 to them, but certainly France was very, very good, considering it's virtually their B team or C team, and certainly a scrappy performance from the All Blacks in a number of areas. So guys, let me know your thoughts on what you thought of the French and what you thought of the All Blacks in this first test, guys. I think the other key one there, look, and I'll get to this later, obviously 3 disallowed tries to the All Blacks, so significant. If the All Blacks had scored another 21 points in this game, it's a completely different ball game. But at the end of the day, they were still disallowed. So I'll get to that later. And look, final 20 minutes for the All Blacks. People expect the All Blacks to be or keep that intensity, to be one of the most fittest international rugby sides. And look, they only came away with 3 points in the last 20 minutes. So that is a real concern. Let me know your thoughts on what went wrong in the last 20 minutes for the All Blacks there, guys. I think, firstly, if we go to the analysis of both sides, I think, firstly, you look at the All Blacks. The start was pretty tough, as I've said. The intensity France brought, like the physicality and power they bring, the speed. They're a good side, the French team, and that was noticeable in the first 10, 20 minutes anyway. I think that the big concern from me here is, Razor's strategy is definitely to play expansive rugby, to play heads-up rugby, what's in front of them. But look, you just look at how effective international rugby teams' defences are these days. Particularly France, they brought that line speed, and if the All Blacks did breach them, which they did on a number of occasions, their cover defence was phenomenal. International defence is just so strong in international rugby. It does raise some question marks about Razor's strategy. Should they play such instinctive rugby, or should they tailor it back to more of a Joe Schmidt type style, where it's more apply pressure, build phases, be accurate in attack, and then execute to take chances? Let me know your thoughts on that down below, but ultimately, it's the analogy. A big team like the Springboks or England, defensively very powerful and very strong. That they play the Springboks later in the year. If they have 10 chances where they breach the line and they almost score 10 times, but they only score twice, whereas the Springboks play a much more simpler, effective game plan. Maybe they only have 4 chances, but they take 3 of them, score 3 tries. Well, who wins the test match? So again, chuck your comments down below about that, guys. The other thing I thought with the All Blacks attack, which again, is another issue going forward from 2024. I thought their attack lacked a lot of variety at times. So let me know your thoughts on that down below. Particularly, they were quite effective with their phase play off 9 to 10 to the midfield, switching side to side. But, in terms of variety, the pick and goes, the crossfield kicks, the grubbers in behind, the variety in attack, I just still think is quite lacking. And look, you just look at that French attack. Very, very simple. The French B team, they didn't put string a lot of phases together particularly, but it's just so simple, so instinctive and so effective. Continuing with the All Blacks, look, the defence for them. I think a lot of people underestimated France as well. Look, they are Six Nations champions, particularly the way they play, the physicality and power they bring on defence, the raw French way on attack is a particularly effective attacking style. So even, look, their B or C team is still going to be a good international side. But saying that, for the All Blacks to concede 27 points is an awful lot. And I think a lot of times their attack, particularly after the French would bring that muscle game up the middle, they seem to not be able to scramble particularly well, and they'd scramble up the middle and it would create a lot of space out wide. So particularly another major concern for the All Blacks. Back to the drawing board there on their defence. Again, another concern, I think the power game from France. I think not the whole game, but I think particularly on a number of occasions you saw where the physicality that the French brought well outmuscled the All Blacks, which is quite a concern in that regard. So a couple of key areas the All Blacks will have to go and have a look at. Guys, if you're enjoying the content, hit the subscribe button, show some support for the channel, chuck some banter down about Test 1, and feel free to share the video with mates and friends. I think if we look at France, look, they were pretty good, weren't they? You know, for a French B or C team. I think what I thought was particularly effective from them and exciting was, I sort of feel like they're similar to the Springboks in a lot of ways. The simple game plan, but executed so well. So they were simple and very effective on defense with this rush defense and this scramble defense. And they really took it to the All Blacks with the power of their tackles driving the All Blacks back on attack. But certainly the French attack, just the instinct, they play what's in front of them, the variety they have on attack. You don't know if they're going to do a short ball inside or out, or a pick and go, or a grubber in behind, or a crossfield kick. Very, very hard to defend, and that's really dangerous attacking play from the French. And look, as I said, France is a quality side these days. Defending Six Nations champions, the depth you can see in them. I think the other thing as well, you know, France was down 21-13 at half-time. Historically, the French teams of 10 years ago would drop their lip, and potentially the All Blacks would put another 40 points on them. But this French side is mentally tough. They stay in the fight, and yeah, they're phenomenal in the game last night. Key players from the match. The first one I think was great was Will Jordan. Like, look, he's just a genuine leader now, isn't he? A genuine playmaker. And I think you saw the variety he brought on attack. Like, not only does he bring that raw speed out wide, or he hits good lines, you saw him, you know, when playing it a bit tighter. When the All Blacks just needed to take him on up the middle, you saw Will Jordan hitting some good lines. A few pick and goes or a few ball carries in against some pretty large French forwards. So that was pretty effective, and certainly his game management from the back, his work with the high ball was solid. I do think that there's probably a bit of work to still be done with the territory game. It felt like the French won the territory battle in a few areas, but look, overall a pretty good performance by Will Jordan. Billy Proctor, yeah, look, let me know your thoughts on him down below. Look, he was absolutely amazing for the Hurricanes this year. I thought, look, he did his core role particularly well. I thought he defended overall quite well. He carried the ball particularly well. Some hard lines he hit. And his distribution game was solid. Unfortunately, he's finding out that test match level is tough. And unfortunately, there's a bit of focus on two particular very big moments with Billy Proctor. that he'll want to forget. The first was when the French went wide, and I believe it was the French fullback when it got on the outside of Billy Proctor. He got a little bit tight up the middle, and ultimately that few phases down the line led to a French try. So he would have been disappointed with that. And then that disallowed try. Oof, fine margins, and certainly I saw what he said read his lips. He wasn't particularly happy with what the ref ruled with the try, but that disallowed try he'll be pretty disappointed with. But again, I suppose what it shows is he's developing at test match level. He's finding his feet. He's definitely a quality player, a player for the future, but he will need to get these, fine margins and execute those sorts of areas better in future. Fabian Holland, jeepers, he is a player for the future, isn't he, guys? Wowee. Full 80 minutes he played, and geez, he just looked like he'd played 50 test matches for the All Blacks. His work in the line out, his work around the field, the ball carrying he did, his work on defence, jeepers, he was phenomenal. And especially on debut, to play a full 80 minutes at that speed and intensity, he's a real player for the future, guys. So let me know your thoughts on him down below, guys. To France, I thought a couple of players that were really, really good for them. The first one was Mikhail Gillard. I thought, look, he did the basics really well. Work at the breakdown, particularly effective, high work rate, physicality, and look, ultimately he got a pretty good try for France as well. So he had a good game. And Gabin Villiers, look, I just like the look of him, isn't he? He got a couple of very good turnovers, didn't he? Raw speed, a real attacking threat. His scramble work on defence, the power he brings on defence to bring down the big All Blacks players was particularly effective. He's a particularly effective player, and he had a good game for France, I thought. So let me know your thoughts on those 5 players down below, guys. Look, in summary of the match, guys, bittersweet is how I'd summarise it for the All Blacks. A good first win, but an awful lot to work on, and particularly not against a French full-string side. So that is a concern, but I'm sure both teams will get better as we progress into 2025. And finally, it'll be interesting, this theme with Razor. We had the same theme with him in 2024, creating a lot of opportunities, just not executing. So again, if the All Blacks had 3 of those disallowed tries and converted them, it's a different ball game. It's a very good win to the All Blacks, but they weren't. And they certainly created a lot of chances, but they didn't execute anywhere near as well as they needed to. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that progresses. And if that theme continues, the All Blacks are in for a very, very tough 2025. But again, let me know your thoughts on that down below. Guys, if you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, chuck some more banter about the All Blacks in France. Awesome series coming up. Au revoir. Cheers.